Thanks for the opportunity to present OptiRoll project. The catch line is that it's a tool. What we are aiming for is a tool for optimization of long product rolling. What are the demands on the tool? It should be easy to use. It should have a low knowledge threshold required, so you don't need to have a PhD to operate the tool. It should be fast to compute, and it should be sufficiently accurate. So these are the goals we set forward for this tool for optimization of long products. We have these companies, Fagersta, Era Steel, Morgård Sammars, Sandvik, and Sandvik Heating and Sandvik Materials Technology, and ABB and Ovako, who are the industrial partners, and KEMAB and LTU and MEFOS are the institutes. What are the project goals? The main goal is to develop a user-friendly simulation tool, and the objective is to explore new solutions for plant layout, explore alternative roll profiles, and to avoid the critical temperatures in wire cross-section. And that means if the main problem what we were looking for and from the beginning was that if you change certain process parameters, the wire melted in the core, and that gave some defects. And also in addition to that, we needed to find process parameters for certain desired microstructure, for example grain size and so on. So another important goal is to suggest new solutions in order to increase the productivity. Basically, we wanted to increase the speed of rolling, and this had to be verified by using experiments and also finite element method. And one important aspect is during this high-speed rolling, the strain rates are really high, and we needed to develop a technology to do this measurement at elevated temperatures and also at elevated strain rates. So with regard to the goal for the agenda and small, for the Metalliska material, the main part was that the simplified tool should give us the flexibility for process improvement and transfer of competence from Forskning Institute to the industry, and we had to combine the laboratory testing for material and material testing in pilot scale plan towards process development. All of this was to improve the productivity. So modeling, we have two different sets of modeling. One is the process modeling and the other is a material modeling. Process modeling, we had two different approaches. One was a 2.5D, which is where it's generally a 2D, but we also look at the lengthwise elongation. That's the elongation normal to the plane. We also did some 3D simulations. The objective was this essentially was much more costly. It took much more time. So therefore, this was to do verification of how good our 2.5D was. Then another essential part of the project was material modeling. So we had 5 different materials from different companies, and we did a large set of testing in Gleeble and also microstructure calibration and also split Hopkins for high strain rate. And also that we did modeling of the material behavior using this at KEMAB using Peter Hodgson's material model. So these were the modeling we have used in the project, and the result of the project was 2 software tools. One is called RollSim, Rolling Process Simulator for long products, and the other one is a MIGDEL from KEMAB, and that's the microstructure simulation tool. The microstructure simulation tool can import results from Gleeble testing or any other testing for strain rates and so on at different strain rates and different temperatures, and this can do calibration of parameters for certain models which are already implemented here. The Roll Sim is a process simulation software which we have developed, and I will talk a little bit more about this. And so these are the results which came out of the project. But it was not enough to just do modeling. We did a lot of measurement. Measurements were done at the relevant industrial situations. So what we did in this project is that we took out sections of wire after each or in between each and every deformation stages in the finishing pass. And then we took sections and looked at the shape, outside shape, and as well as the grains in the cross section. And then we measured also grain size in the middle as well as in the surface. So with regard to measurement, we tried many other things also to measure the temperature online during the process, but that proved to be really difficult. So still now we don't have a very good measurement of temperature. The main problem when we measure temperature is that the temperature, you can say this is the quarter section of the wire. It changes quite a lot from one position to the other. So depending on where we are measuring, it changes quite a lot. And therefore the measurements and also the environment is not very conducive to perform measurement because of the water cooling and the high speeds associated with that. So the critical part of the temperature is the temperature in the core, which we cannot measure anyway. So that became a problem. So what we have used right now is that modeling was the main solution we had, and for that we could measure the outside profile that we could calibrate to the simulation, and with regard to temperature it became one more order of magnitude difficult. So if you compare the simulation results for a 6-pass rolling which was done at Fagersta, you can see these were the results from simulation, and here you can see the temperatures, and that has gone close to 1300 degrees. So if we change the parameters slightly, you could see that it went into dangerous level where it could have melted. So we couldn't do any more than 6 passes for that particular material. And also here you will see the strain rates were quite high, and if we had done one more, then it would have also gone up quite higher. The modeling approach what we had been following was that I told in the beginning that we were aiming for a tool which was easy to use and which was fast. But finite element simulations typically take time, and you cannot do it very fast. So the approach what we have been doing is that we use a finite element tool, perform a large set of simulations covering all possible scenarios within a particular company and for a particular material, and then we create a database of results. Then we created a surrogate model. The surrogate model is basically a response surface which can fit in within all these possible parameter sets. But this was the original project goal, but when we reached that stage we understood that there was some issue because sometimes the mill wanted to try out things which are a little bit outside what we have tested, and then surrogate model was not very accurate. So then we thought to add one more stage, which was a own thermomechanical coupled FEM module. So we added that. So basically you can do fast approximate calculations using the surrogate model, and then you can do fine grain simulations for verification. What you see up here is our own finite element code, which is also calculating in 2.5D, and you can see up to 5 passes. So this was just an example case. The weakest link here is basically this part, because you do a lot of finite element calculation and then you have a simple model which takes milliseconds to calculate. And how good is that calculation? So here you can see a comparison between the finite element calculation. So this is the FE calculation, and here is the surrogate model. One thing you could see is that as we have more and more number of passes, 8 or more passes, you see that then it becomes a little bit spread. So the model, surrogate model, cannot be as accurate as a finite element calculation, but that's what we have to live with. So once we are at that stage, if we have the fast surrogate calculation, we could go back and do a fine-grained calculation and precisely calculate what will be the cross-section temperature and plastic strain and so on. So then goes to the next stage. So we have up to that. So and we have the software from KeyMap which can calculate the microstructure parameters. So then the next stage is that we export the process parameters after calculation, and then MICDEL can calculate the microstructure parameters wherever in the cross-section. So that's the second stage. So now we have a tool which works on for all of these 5 different materials at 5 different plants. What next is that we need to validate the results within the different plant trials we had to do. We have already completed most of them except one. And then we need to also benchmark the results with existing software. Morgotshammar has a software called Vicon, which is being extensively used within the plants in Sweden. It's a simplified tool which just approximates deformation in 1D. So, but those results are calibrated with respect to all the plants within Sweden. So it could be good to benchmark our results with respect to the existing software. Then comes the next part, that we have a tool, so we need to use the tool to solve some real industrial problems. So we have compiled all the one problem from each industry, so which we are trying to solve. And the main aspect we are looking at is what are the process parameters which can increase the productivity but avoid this critical temperature where it can melt the core. And also at some cases we need companies needed to look at if they can roll it to lower dimensions, because lower dimensions means you deform more and you heat the core more. So these are the specific questions we are looking to answer this. And then how to utilize the results. Main part, of course, we will demonstrate that solving specific industrial problems, but in the long run, it's the industry who has to use this tool. So what we are planning, or what we have already done, is we have conducted one workshop where members from the industry come in and use the tool and see for themselves how to use it, and for us to get a feedback on how to improve the tool. We are also planning some exercises which can increase the usage of this tool within the industry. Yeah, so that's the stage right now.
Thank you very much, Bishish. Any questions?
You talked about high strain rate materials, the parameters.
Yeah.
And you said that you're using Split Hawkinson.
Yeah.
Where is this equipment?
Luleå University.
Luleå University. How do you heat up the specimen?
Here they have an induction coil which is positioned around the specimen just before heating, and yeah, so that's not during the heating but just before that.
Okay.
I guess that the participating companies will have access to this roll sim then.
Yes.
After the project. So that will be, is that made in MATLAB or?
Yeah.
So the roll sim compiles a lot of finite element simulations with some sort of interpolation techniques, or?
Yeah, that's the surrogate model part, and then we have also a finite element code which is also built in into that, which will be built in into
So
that.
there's a finite element simulation into roll sim as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
No more questions, in which case, thank you again very much, Bishish.
Yeah. Thank you.